Hey artists, Miss Kit Lang here, and I have a lesson for you to do at home, an assignment. In your classes, you have been talking about Hong Kong and looking at the city we live in and love. You even went on a field trip to start looking at the city. Now, if you're not one of my learners, you can also look at where you live to get inspiration about the world and the life and the area where you're from. But for my learners, we're going to look at buildings in Hong Kong. So on your field trip, you might have noticed different shapes, different lines, different ways that buildings were constructed. And our job for this first assignment is to start to draw these buildings. I know some of you have already practiced this in class, but we're going to practice a little bit more and learn some new techniques to make our buildings tall, big, strong, and we'll later use those drawings to make a piece of artwork where we layer the buildings and show overlapping. Right, well, let's get started with the first demonstration so you know what to do. Okay, artists, for this assignment, you need simple materials. You need a pencil, an eraser, a sharpener if needed, and some loose pieces of paper. So this is kind of the paper that we would put in the printer, or also known as cartridge paper. So talk to your families and see if you have these materials at home so you can get started with drawing the buildings. You can decide if you want to draw a building from your imagination or from what you remember when you look around the city or just the buildings that you have inside of your head, or you can look at pictures. I will include some resources that you can look at different buildings, iconic buildings in Hong Kong that you can draw from. Our goal is to not look exactly like the buildings, but just include some of the features, the shape of the windows, the shape of the top of the tower. So take your paper and start drawing. You can decide whether you want to use your paper in the portrait way, standing up, or landscape way, laying down. I might start with standing tall because I want to draw the IFC in Hong Kong. So I know the IFC is really tall and I want to plan out my paper. I use my magic finger to trace where I plan to draw on my paper before I use Mr. Pencil. It's important to use Mr. Magic Finger to trace first, or he'll get really super duper mad and poke you in the nose. So I know that I want to draw the IFC up tall. It has a curved top, and I know it's got some spiky things on the top as well. Let's actually segue to a picture of the IFC to take a look at what it looks like. The International Finance Center of Hong Kong. There it is in all its glory. So I know that it starts, and it's many, many floors, so I'm going to draw. I'm drawing very light until it's right so I can erase easier later. That way I can make lots of mistakes because they're okay, but then I don't have to work so hard to rub out my lines. I know that the building curves at the top. I'm going to draw a little bit harder just so you can see my sketches. Ooh, it's leaning Tower of Pisa a little bit. And then drop down. Now it's got these little kind of spikes at the top, I notice, and then they lead up. These different kinds of lines. There's long lines that are along the sides as well as part of the structure to make it so stable. And the windows are rectangles, and there's a lot of them. So I'm taking my time, being mindful artist, being careful, controlling my pencil, and drawing each window, well, maybe not every window, but a lot of them to show the shape of the window and the different parts of the building. Right, let's speed things up a little bit. Right, finished. I added more details, I was careful with my pencil, and I tried my best to draw the lines and shapes that I remembered and also looked at from a picture of this iconic building, the IFC in Hong Kong. Right, a few more things to remember before we get started, and then it will be all up to you, artists, to create drawings from Hong Kong. Artists, your goal for this assignment is to draw 5 or more different drawings of Hong Kong in pencil. And you should pick different buildings with different kind of features. Draw the tall ones or the fat squatty ones, the ones with the round circle windows, ones with an interesting tower or top. So try to pick lots of different buildings to draw, and even ask your mom and dad to draw some buildings along with you as well. Parents and artists, please keep the drawings, put them in a folder, or clip them together because we will want to use them after you return back to school. So grab your pencil, paper, and eraser, and don't forget Mr. Finger, Magic Finger, and get started with your first assignment.